It's funny as soon as the camera starts, the nerves and smiles start kicking in. But namaste to everyone. Um, my name is Rashimi El Uriah Kayamit, but typically I go by Shimmy. Today's presentation is a subject that I was very hesitant to discuss, but I'm very intrigued in actually finding an actual answer or discussing it with more people. So I figured this would be a perfect forum to begin sharing this idea that I have. So the title of this theory presentation is Stop Practicing Yoga. This already sounds completely counterintuitive to what it is I'm pursuing and getting the certification, and typically going around telling people that I am a yoga instructor and I can teach them yoga. So this is very interesting for me to present, and I love the fact that it's most likely going to cause a very interesting initial reaction, but I believe by the end of it there will be definitely a larger understanding of where it is I'm coming from, maybe even an acceptance of the premise that I'm standing on. So this presentation is presented by some person who no longer practices yoga. Hey. All right. So, Atha Yoga Nu Sasanam. I hope I'm close. Atha Yoga Nu Sasanam. This is how Patanjali's book, the Yoga Sutras, which is one of the most well-known yogic texts ever released and understood. This is how this book begins. Atha Yoga Nusasana. Now, why is this the first line in the text? We're going to begin by actually interpreting this sentence and moving forward from there. So, Atha Yoga Nusasana pretty much translates to why and now yoga. Depending on the translation, it varies generally, but generally it states and now yoga. So there's something that leads up to this thing that we understand as yoga. So let's first bring awareness to how yoga is viewed and perceived in modern times throughout the world. Some people see yoga as a bunch of intense bodily contortions where the yogi is striving to become a pretzel. Some people see yoga as maybe intense postures, followed by this intense breathing that is somewhat overwhelming to the normal human anatomy. Some people see it as extensively long sitting periods where your mind is just perfectly empty and void of everything at all moments, no matter what stimuli is around you. Believing that just sitting still and focusing on one thing is actually meditation, when in reality that's truly dharana or concentration. And once you're able to move dynamically within that one pointed nature, we now understand meditation, which is already part of our true nature, but we'll get to that later. Some people believe yoga to be just a collection of many esoteric and mystified rituals and practices that should be reserved for specific people or groupings. Some people just see it as an occult system of deity worship where people just dress up and imitate and honor all these deities that seem somewhat innumerable. But yoga simply, in its Sanskrit translation, or yuj, is to join, to yoke, or this ultimate union that is eternal. Commonly known, there are four main paths to yoga. Bhakti being one, the devotional path. Kriya, sometimes also referred to as Kriya, but in some ideologies, this will be replaced with Raja, which is more the internal yoga. You have Jnana yoga or Jnana yoga, the yoga of the mind or the intellectual yoga. And then we have Karma yoga. And I'm intentionally using the word yoga after all these things because I plan to disrupt it at the end of this. So Bhakti yoga would be the yoga of our emotional body, where we're demonstrating devotion through the energy that's able to be cultivated in praise and devotion to whatever it is that we are devoted to. So the Kriya or Raja yoga, the internal yoga, is the yoga of the energy, another body. We have four main bodies within this system. The Jnana or the mind would be the yoga of intellect, and then the Karma will be the actual yoga of the body or the physical yoga. These four branches represent the four bodies that we inhabit at all times. With that said, we're going to continue moving. So these are the four dominant paths not of yoga, but four dominant paths that would lead to this awareness. Because ultimately, this supreme awareness of our true being is the goal. So these four paths are four ways of getting to this awareness. Not leading us to yoga, but just leading us to this awareness of something that's beyond our normal conscious state. The eight limbs within these systems typically consist of yamas, or our ethics. No, yamas would be our discipline, or how we control ourselves. Niyamas would be our ethics, how we conduct. Asana would be what's known as posture of the physical body, also known as a stable state. So it's also a mental thing. So the posture allows the body to even hold a certain energy for us to experience and understand. So once we adjust the body, a lot of the higher understanding is now able to be experienced more clearly, because the most gross thing is now being removed as the priority. From this posture or this steady state, we now to pranayama, where we're learning to control the prana, which functions beyond just the breath. Prana is also thought. It could be any life force, including magnetism, gravity, electricity, all these universal forces that allow for movement and this manifestation. Going beyond the prana and the control of that, we go to pratyahara, which would involve us withdrawing from the senses. The easiest way to do that is to starve the senses, which is the definition of it, or to fast. Once we have control of the senses, you move up into experiencing. You're not doing this. You're just going to experience it. Once you move beyond the senses, you experience a one-pointed nature. This is consequence of the previous five limbs of this Ashtanga system. Once you're able to experience this one-pointed state in a suspended, in an extended period of in an extended state, we now transition over to dhyana, which is meditation. Now we're able to move within this one-pointed nature. We've always been moving within this one-pointed nature, because it's also said that the destiny of all is yoga, or being a yogi is the destiny of all. So this thing that is yoga is our complete nature. Being a yogi is our ultimate reality. But these paths and these limbs allow us to become aware of this. So as a consequence of the previous five limbs, we're now experiencing we're experiencing our nature, which is concentration. And going beyond that, we're experiencing a meditative nature. And going beyond that, we're experiencing our truest nature, which is samadhi, being equal or even with the supreme. It's even more interesting because when we reference these yogic texts, it says, where can yoga be practiced or experienced? It says a solitary place or temple. Interesting. An arrow shoot away from rocks or earth with water, fire. An arrow shoot away from rocks, which is earth, water, fire, and the land should be fertile and well governed. This place does not exist in truth and reality in this physical world externally. This place only exists internally. A completely solitary place, where does that exist? Because even if you go out into what appears to be the most solitary place, you're still going to be accompanied by all the external world, the trees, the animals, the sounds, the vibrations. The only place that you can be completely solitary within an arrow shoot of all these elements is within your body, which holds all these elements. So yoga is not something that can even be practiced. It's something that literally is experienced once we remove the veil and come to truth with our own true nature. So these four paths, the eight limbs, are merely methods to remove the obstacles that make perceiving yoga, which is our ultimate reality, our truest nature. Yoga being our eternal state is not something that is achieved or arrived at, but a constant reality that unfolds regardless of our awareness of it. This union with the individual to the all, or this soul to the supreme, however you perceive it, is eternal. Regardless of if you're conscious of it or not, it is what is. It doesn't change. Whether you practice these asanas, whether you practice the breathing techniques or the pranayama, whether you practice these eight limbs, yoga is being experienced. It's not being practiced. It's not something that you can develop. It's the only thing you can develop is your ability to be aware. The only thing you can develop and cultivate is all the energies, emotions, the physical body, and the mind, so that you can fully experience this ultimate reality, which is yoga. Yoga, this eternal being, this infinite union, is manifesting at birth through our lives and when we die, transcending. I don't even know what I just wrote. Irregardless, I'm gonna keep this raw like this. Irregardless of what I was just trying to read, I'd rather just talk about it because it flows a lot more smoothly. Irregardless of that, yoga is our eternal state. Simply put, it's not something that we can practice. It's not something that we can cultivate. The only thing we can do is remove everything that impedes our ability to perceive this beautiful state of living, experiencing, however. So, in essence, to summarize everything, this true experience lies only in the awareness of our truest nature, which is to be yoked and bound to everything. That's why they always say you don't have like attachment is futile because the connection is eternal. We don't have to worry about being attached. Connection is eternal. This yoking, this binding is eternal. It's our eternal state. From one comes all, and all these will return back to one. So after we get out of our own way, aligning with our divine nature, now yoga. Atha yoga. Atha yoga nusasanam. And now yoga. I hope I've made sense throughout my presentation. Once again, my name is, not even my name, I am Shimmy. And we should all stop practicing yoga.